Alright guys, welcome back. So remember, we're talking about radioactive decay. We're talking about the 3 different types of decay. So the first type of decay is alpha decay. So if you want to write that down in your notes, we're going to take some notes and talk about some properties of alpha decay. So the first property of alpha decay is it has the lowest penetrating power. So when we're talking about penetrating power, to penetrate something is kind of like to go through it. So it's like if you have a Capri Sun or a juice box, and you have to stick the straw in, that's penetrating, the package or the box. And so alpha particles can't penetrate very far. So even like here, if we had like a few pieces of paper that are stacked together, and we have an alpha particle, and we shoot it, it's not even going to be able to go through the paper. So later we're going to talk about other particles that have more penetrating power, but alpha is going to be the one that has the lowest penetrating power for the ones we're talking about today. So in alpha decay, what we're going to do is we're going to lose an alpha particle. So this symbol right here is alpha. They're going to use that in, your different equations and things like that sometimes. So be pretty familiar with it. Also, sometimes we talk about an alpha particle as a helium nucleus. So helium is actually an element on our periodic table. So when we're talking about a helium nucleus, that's going to be the little particle that flies out. So remember how before we had those atoms and they were shaking, and they were shaking, and then it had a particle that flew off of it, and then it became stable. This particle that flies off is a helium nucleus. So let's figure out what a helium nucleus looks like first. So if we go up to our periodic table, we can find helium. It's over here. And if we see the number 2, what does that tell us about helium? So that tells us that helium has 2 protons. Alright, let's figure out how many neutrons helium has. Because remember, we're talking about the nucleus. So we're not talking about electrons. We're talking about protons and neutrons. So if we look down here, it says it's 4.003. So if our mass is 4, if you remember from the last unit, we do 4 minus 2 to get our number of neutrons, so that's 2. So this helium nucleus is going to have 2 protons and 2 neutrons that are going to leave our particle, or our original atom. So if it has just 2 protons and just 2 neutrons and no electrons, what is its charge going to be? So hopefully you're able to remember that helium, or that protons have a positive charge, and so this helium nucleus is going to have a +2 charge. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some example equations. So we're finally going to start to write chemical equations, so it's pretty exciting. And so this is really important for you to copy this down as I'm doing it. This is the hard part of this unit, and so as I'm doing it on the board, then you guys need to be doing it also in your notes. Alright, so here's one example. We're going to start off with this element. Oh, sorry. If I can write the right element. So we're going to start off with this element. Alright, that element, and it's going to go through alpha decay. So this element, if you remember, this number up top is our mass. Hopefully you're feeling comfortable with this now. This was what was on our last test. So like I said, chemistry builds on each other, so you have to know the first unit to know the other units. So that is our mass, and this bottom number is our atomic number, or our number of protons. So we can find these numbers either from the problem if they give it to us, or on our periodic table. And so, like I said, this arrow that we draw is telling us that this is going to undergo some alpha decay, or going to go through a chemical change. And so when we do alpha decay, remember, you can either write the symbol or you can write the helium nucleus. So I like to use the helium nucleus. So this is what a helium nucleus is, right? First we write the element symbol, helium, and then we have to write how many, then we have to write our mass number, like here. So our mass number for helium is 2 protons and 2 neutrons, so it is 4. And then we have to write our number of protons down below, so that is just 2 for helium. So now I'm going to walk you through how we figure out what to put here, because this is going to be our final element. This is what you're going to have to figure out for the rest of your problems. So what you do is you take your mass and you subtract it by this 4, because we started off with 235, and then we had 4, we had the helium nucleus leave, so we had 4 mass particles leave. So we have 235, and then if we have 4 leave, we're going to have 231. Then on this bottom part, we're going to have 92 protons, and then we're going to have 2 protons leave. So if 2 protons leave, and we had a 92, and then 2 leave, we're going to just have a 90. So now we have to figure out what element this is. So if you remember, our number of protons tells us which element it is. So we're going to scroll up to the top to our periodic table and find 90. So I know sometimes it's hard to find these. 90 is down here. It's TH. Alright, so this is going to be TH. So if you feel really comfortable with this, you can stop. I'm going to do one more example. I would suggest watching it to make sure you know how to do it. So we're going to start off with a particle that's 241 and 95, and it's AM, and then it's going to undergo alpha decay. So remember, we can either write that or we can write this. Okay, we need to figure out what our new element is. So remember, we take our 241 and we minus it by 4, because 4 things are leaving. So 241 minus 4, and we get 237. Remember, if you don't like to do math in your head, then you're welcome to use a calculator anytime in this class. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do 95 minus 2, and we're going to get 93. And then this element, if we go up to our periodic table, we find 93, and it looks like it's right here. So that's NP. Alright, so that's how you do alpha decay. Watch the other videos to learn how to do the other types of decay. And let me know if you have any questions.